your skills, I am quite happy for you
Oh,
to
wonderful.
do what you like. But just,
Right, we're
and
going live. Yeah. In Facebook, anyway. We're already live on Clubhouse. So here we go. I'm just grabbed my deck of Oracle card, actually. You know, I have my own business Oracle deck.
oh, how fab.
People were going to see a really good shot of my t-shirt here. All right, so we are live in Clubhouse and we are live in the group. So can I ask you, Dale, to supervise the comments in the group, in my group, whilst I look in Clubhouse to see if anybody joins us? Are you happy to do that?
I certainly will. Let me go and open up.
So I think I'm going to start by pulling the card of the week, because I always do the energy of the week for business with my deck to see what I look funny with only one ear thing in my oh, goodness me. I was going to say I don't really need to listen to what's happening in Zoom. Let's try it this way. That's much more comfortable. Helen is joining us. Welcome, Helen. This is an experiment, but the only thing I can say is Dale and I are both quite experienced in our fields of intuition and journaling. So even though the tech is not my forte, we should be able to deliver something really, really interesting. So I'm pulling a card from my business Oracle deck for the energy of the week in business. So this is going to tell us what our businesses want us to focus on this week for anyone who's watching this recording. So let's have a quick, and isn't that funny? The card is online.
That is hilarious, because we were sat here this morning going, how do we operate all these things?
Yep. So get online, ladies. This is the energy of the week. Focus online. So I'm going to do an intro first to let you know why we're doing this. This is the kickoff of my intuition hour every Monday morning at 7 a.m. I will be holding this room, hopefully with a little bit more control and knowledge of how this works, to record my podcast. So I'm launching my podcast called the Business Intuition Podcast on the 14th of June. And I'm having a mega party for that launch. That will start at 7 a.m. on the Monday, 7 a.m. UK time, let's say, just for anybody who might be watching for some other time zone. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what the business podcast, Business Intuition Podcast is for before I start introducing my guests. So Dale, thank you for being so patient with me whilst I get started.
It's a pleasure.
Is it, I know you're keeping your eye on Facebook. Do we have 11 people watching on Facebook? Is that right?
I can't see anybody.
Oh, I see 11 Facebook. So I'm assuming there's people watching. Maybe they're not commenting. So here we go. I'm just grabbed my deck of Oracle card. Actually. Oh, there's a big lag here. I don't know if I'm going to do this for the podcast. That's not going to work for the podcast. Anyway, so the Business Intuition Podcast is a podcast for female entrepreneurs who suffer from imposter syndrome and who want to trust their intuition to stop the shiny object syndrome, analysis paralysis, and get rid of that sense of failure and feeling like a fraud. So by trusting our intuition, we're able to know what to do rather than always asking someone else. And I thought that inviting Dale over to this event today would be a perfect start for this energy, because she's our specialist about intuition, but also branding. Dale, would you like to let us know a little bit and introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. And thank you so much for this very early Monday morning a treat, because it's really, really wonderful to have been able to get up, go for a walk, and then do something really exciting. So I call myself a word alchemist and a personal brand strategist. And the word alchemy is all about how we use words and turn them into clarity, our gold. And that's things like journaling, writing, meditating, mandalas, affirmations and gratitude. And the personal branding piece brings that word alchemy in, because I use writing and journaling to help people get to the heart of who they are, really think about who they want to become, what they want to create in the world, and doing what they love, discovering their heart's desires, doing what they love. And the next writing piece is just creating amazing content, whatever that content might be, and then helping them to repurpose it to build their brand, their personal brand. So that's me in a nutshell.
What a wonderful business you have. I'm so happy I came across you.
Likewise, likewise.
And you know, I want to share with our listeners how it happened, because it was that's, for me, that's the power of intuition, how we met. I was prompted by my intuition. I do most of my content online intuitively, which means I tune into the energy before I post in any group. And I ask, what do I need to share today? And on the day that Dale and I connected, I think I talked about courage, didn't I, Dale?
Do you know, I can't remember. My head is not quite in the morning.
Don't worry. So I think there was a big lion on the post.
Yes.
And I was talking about how much courage it took me to embrace my intuition, because I'm a lawyer by training. I had a 15-year career as a business lawyer, specifically in the mergers and acquisition area, which is very left brain, very logical, very masculine in a way. And that's not a criticism. I think we need both elements, but that just to show that I'm not your usual intuition teacher. And to embrace my intuition took a lot of courage. So I shared this story of how I kept on being scared and being called by spirit to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into my gifts. And it caught Dale's attention. She commented on my post on Facebook. That was in another group.
It was.
And I don't know why, but this is how intuition works. And I guess that's a really good introduction to what we're going to talk about today. I noticed her comment. It's almost like it stood out for me. It was that you need to pay attention to this comment, girl. So I went on to check on Dale, which I did. So first, you know, when you're in a group, if you check on someone, if you look at all the posts in the group, it'll show you the history. And I found that she had a journaling course. And what was super amazing, Dale doesn't know this yet, is that I had been looking for a journaling course for weeks. And I knew someone else who did a journaling course, who is a writing coach that I really admire. But the price point was a little bit high for me at this point, because I hadn't budgeted it, basically. And so I saw that Dale was doing a super amazing promo on her course at that point. I clicked on the link, knew that the promotion was over, but it didn't matter. It was exactly the right price point for me. And it so happened that it was $33, which is a sign from my dad, because my dad's magic number was 33. How amazing is that? So of course I signed up for her course, and then in her course, it suggested that I joined her group. And the moment I listened to Dale's journaling course, she had the right voice, the right tone, everything. It was just perfect, absolutely perfect. And this is a powerful story of intuition for anyone who's listening here, because I set out my intent to find a journaling course. The universe answered, brought me the perfect teacher. But at the same time, I do have a feeling that Dale and I are going to do more things together, that today is the start of something bigger. Hi, Susie. So nice to join us. We have Susie joining us on Clubhouse. So this in itself, I think, is a pretty awesome illustration of how intuition works. You know, my first thought when I saw Dale's comment under my post in Facebook was, oh, maybe she's going to buy from me. And that's the mind that puts that thought. But then, of course, my intuition knew that it was something different, and it led me to ride the energy. I've often compare intuition as a wave, and we need to surf the wave. So, Dale, I'd love to have your feedback on that, or some thoughts.
Well, I always go with, I'm very spontaneous, can't even speak this morning, spontaneous. I'm also very random. And I do, when I'm looking through anything, I will check in with the energy of what someone has written. And interestingly, when you said that you'd written about courage, it didn't stick in my head because I'm very visual. As soon as you said the lion, I remembered straight away. And I remember what you'd written. And I don't always comment on stuff anyway, I don't always comment. But something drew me to comment on your thing. And then we made this connection, and it's like, I like your energy. So, you know, we're not in the same room, or we're not even in the same country, but you can feel the energy of somebody. And I think that when that happens, I think the universe, or whatever you want to call it, collides to bring people together, because they're meant to do something. They're meant to go on a journey, no matter how small or big that journey is. So it might be just a moment, or it might be a lifetime. But the universe always conspires. I mean, something that happened to me recently, and I didn't realize that English wasn't someone's mother tongue. And I'd written something on Facebook, and when I read the comment, I was horrified that someone was so rude. And so I wrote something, and this lovely, lovely person came back to me and said, I'm so sorry. English is not my first language. I was actually being nice. So I was like, oh no. And I said, and we had a long conversation, and I said, I was meant to meet you. Just like that. Things happen that cause people to collide and come together. And I think we have to trust that. And that's what intuition is. You just have to trust, you know, the funny voices in your head, or the things that you see, or the feelings that you get. You just have to trust, go with the energy. Like you say, ride that wave, the flow of whatever's happening. Be curious. I think that's the biggest thing, is when something happens, is say, I wonder where that's going to take me. I wonder what that means. And just sit with it, see what happens.
Absolutely. That leads me actually to the questions I wanted to ask you, Dale. First, I'd like to know, why are you so passionate about journaling?
Well, I'm going to start with this comment. Journaling has saved my life. So when I think of all the rubbish that has gone on in my life, what I've been able to do is channel my thoughts, my feelings, my anger, whatever it is that came up, I've been able to channel it into a journal. So this is a static object, but when you put that stuff onto the page, it's like it grounds it stops it, and it helps you to become clear. So when you get that stuff out, I remember when my spine fractured, and it was massively painful, and I was doing lots and lots of positive stuff and positive writing, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think, I don't even want to be on the planet anymore. I am in so much pain. And it's almost like I would gouge the page out, and when I woke up in the morning, it was like, oh, I feel so much better now, because I'd got that stuff out of my system. So there's clarity, it's cathartic. It gives you, for me, it gives me words and pictures and feelings and all sorts of stuff, because once I've put something on the page, then I get feedback from it. So it's helped save my life throughout all kinds of stuff. We get answers from spirit. So whether you believe in spirit, angels, God, grace, the universe, whatever that your connection with that higher power is, you get those answers. So you might write something in the journal, and you might get the answer in the journal through automatic writing, or you might get it later as you travel through the day. I'm passionate about it because it lets me express myself. And I think as well is that, we've talked about cathartic, but it's that release. It's that, just let go of all that stuff. Because imagine if you hadn't written something and then you came across somebody and you were feeling angry and you expressed anger at somebody. That's not very helpful. So I think it's just, there's so much that it does to help us heal, who we are and where we want to go. And it just opens up this massive portal of wisdom. That wasn't quite
We're
enough.
always healing.
We are
We're
always.
always healing, aren't we? Because that's what life is about. There's always more layers to peel. There's always more depth to get. It allows us to go more in depth as well, doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, because you can start with a simple question or a simple statement. So let's say you're feeling a bit ill and you're feeling really disconnected from your heart, then you could just write the words, dear heart, and then just take some moments to breathe into your heart. And you could end up with, you know, like 10 pages of stuff that you didn't know your heart wanted to say to you, or it could just be a sentence. But it's that depth of, it's the layers, because you, like, you know, if you wrote that and then you went for a walk and you came back, something else might come up. And it's just, you're always finding out who you are. Always.
There's several things I want to unpick from what you said, because it's just so wonderful. But first I wanted to say, it's funny how you started your answer by journaling saved my life, because I say intuition saved my life. So we're kind of on a similar journey, but with different tools. And you said also that it's to be able to, maybe not your words, that to connect to your heart. I believe intuition comes through the heart.
I do.
So that, and again, we have that connection. We have that the same way. Which doesn't mean that everybody who's listening is going to feel the same about it, but I like that our practices actually reveal the same, really.
I think we come at stuff maybe we come at stuff in different ways or different words, but essentially we're doing similar things with the same outcome, and that's that getting closer to who we are, and actually listening. You know, we need to listen to what comes up, and when we don't listen, that's when things go a bit, you know, a bit stray, don't they?
But if I go back to when I started therapy, because I had at least 10 years of therapy, and I hated journaling when I was a kid, and there's several reasons for it. First, I didn't know how to journal. Then I thought I sounded way too whiny, way too miserable and boring, and I just didn't want to listen to all that. But also, I think there's a fear when we dive into our emotions, because we're not trained, or we haven't been, let's say, led, and we haven't had a safe space to do that. At least I hadn't. That means that we're almost scared to get into those big feelings in case we get drowned in it, or in case they overwhelm us. So I feel it's the same with journaling and therapy on a different level, that people might resist doing it because of, like, I don't even want to go there. So what would be your tip to overcome that?
That's really interesting, because when I first started journaling, nobody taught me what to do. And you are so right that it's quite horrific when you look at what comes out on the page. I don't know how you teach someone to trust that it's okay, but I think one of the first things I'd say in hindsight with a lot more experience is that if you're going to start peeling back the layers, is ensure that you've got somebody else that perhaps you can talk to. We are all different. I'm very practical, very pragmatic. And so when I started, and that, it was horrendous what I wrote. I mean, it was like I was, you know, pulling demons and toxins out of me. I mean, it really was horrible. And I didn't go and find anyone to work with, but I worked with crystals. You know, I had studied crystal therapy, you know, so I was very much into lots of other things that really, really helped me. But at first, there's no way I would have gone and talked to anybody. I was completely closed in. So I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give in hindsight is work with some other modality. So if you like Reiki, go and get, you know, go and have Reiki alongside of it. Work with a counselor or a therapist. I mean, one of the therapies that I have that I really enjoy is EMDR. But I love reflexology and massage. And I think it's when you combine it with other things that help you to just relax and get into a space. I also think things like, and this is not about writing, but going for walks. So when you've written, And so, you know, often what I would do is wake up in the middle of the night and write. And that good sleep, so sleep is really, really healing. But I would go for walks, and walks after I had written helps you to kind of ground and send that energy out. So find someone to talk to, go and get some help, get some good sleep. You know, if you wake up in the middle of the night, write, and that's going to help you. Go out and do some exercise. Do you know the other thing is eat well? You know, that sounds a little bit crazy, you know, like, how's that going to support your journaling? But you know what, if you put rubbish in your body and you've got rubbish thoughts, you know, our gut is connected to every part of us. You know, if you eat rubbish and you have rubbish thoughts, then you're going to write rubbish things. So, you know, drink water. So it's not just about the writing, you know, it's about the writing gives us that portal for expression, but we have to do lots of other things to really help us change our lives. So, but I do think the biggest thing is if you know that you have had masses of trauma, like I have, like most people have had lots of stuff going on, find someone to support you. I truly believe that therapy in conjunction with journaling is really important.
Yeah, I can see a parallel because I'm trained as a EFT practitioner, and I always knew that for big T's, you shouldn't be doing it on your own, and small T's, you can just do it, and that's not an issue. So I really resonate with what you said. There's so much again that I want to comment on, but I don't know. What was I going to say? Yes, I actually recommend to all my intuition ladies, or ladies who learn intuition with me, to keep an intuitive journal, but also to use another journal as a sort of brain emotional dump that they keep separate from other journals, so that the energy, and that they imagine that they literally pour the negative energy through their arm into their hand, into the pen, and that the blackness of the ink is actually that negativity coming out.
I think that's a wonderful idea, because one of the things, and you'll know from the course, is that I say to people is to put your hand on your journal, draw around your hand, and then tune in to what it is that you need, like an affirmation, or set your intentions that actually bring your energy into your journal. My dog's starting to bark now. Please don't come back in my office and bark. But I think you're right. You know, this paper takes that energy, and I agree with I mean, I've got loads of different journals, and I agree with having journals that, you know, that you can dump. One of the things I do with my journals is I burn them. I met someone 6 months ago, and he was horrified because he's kept his journals from 1970 something, and he said, what should I do with them when I go? And I said, give them to your kids. And he went, but I've written all sorts of stuff. And I went, yeah, but you're gone, so who cares? But what a gift for them to understand their dad better. I said, either that, chuck them on the fire, let the energy go. Let the energy go.
So that's interesting, because I would definitely do that with my brain, my brain dump diary, or my emotional, I call it the bin diary, really. But then, and I know this is gonna make you smile, I think, I am an author and I write memoir. And so I found that keeping a journal when I have a specific memoir I'm writing really helps to capture the things that are important, the emotions, so that I can portray them later on when I want to write that memoir. I'm going to say hello to your dogs so that they know they're acknowledged, and thank them for their contribution. They obviously have something to say about journaling and intuition. Yes, they do. So that's a separate thing, but I think so those journals, I definitely keep them. And I wrote a memoir called My Father Who Art in Heaven during the transition of my dad, when his brain tumor took him the last 3 months of his life and after. And keeping that journal was invaluable to keep my sanity, just as you said, but also to be able to capture those moments and not forget, and being able then to harvest the information from the journal to write something meaningful.
And actually, that, you know, you've made a really, really valuable point, because when my spine fractured, how I got out of bed, I don't know, but someone had bought me a really thick journal and it was downstairs. I could barely walk. The pain was horrendous. And I laid in bed and I thought, that journal is the journal for this journey.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I mean, I really don't know how I got out of bed and went and got that journal. And I have kept that. But because I then, you know, I had this idea that I was going to write a book about how to heal osteoporosis. And so I used the journal to write that. And then when I got to the end of it, and I'd done a lot of healing and I'd improved my bone density and my fractures were healed. I mean, there's still wedges. It was like, normally I would have thrown that journal, you know, I would have burnt it, but there's something quite magical about it. And so I've got the stuff that I've written for book, I've got the story, and the story came, it's in the journal. I can't throw that journal away. I literally can't get rid of it. Whereas practically everything else I have, you know, in my story of coming to Spain very quickly was discovering that the husband had for our entire relationship been living a double life. Now all of those journals that went with that, I've burned. I needed to get rid of his energy, but actually I've already written the story, so I actually have it as a book that's going to come out. I'm going to finish it in August. It's very hot here in August, and August is going to be my writing month. But those I needed to burn. I needed to burn his energy, right? Because it just was complete. It was just such a horrible experience. But it was also a great experience because it brought me to Spain. It helped me to fall to pieces, to find myself, to love myself. But I've written it all. I sit and write all the time. So those needed to burn. But that osteoporosis story, you know, it's courage. Let's come all the way back to what you first said. It's a story of courage. It's a story of resilience. And why would you want to get rid of that? So that is that for me, that's really unusual. The rest of it, just, I light the fire and they're gone. But you're right. You know, if we're going to write a memoir, we need to let those memories flow. I mean, one of the things I love about the EMDR is, because I'm very visual, I've got so many stories of my childhood that just keep coming up that I just want to capture and keep. You know, they're just amazing. Bits of pockets of my life that I'd completely forgotten about. So they're things that you would keep. But the rest of it, stick it on the fire. Stick it on the fire.
I love it. Stephanie's joined us. Thank you for joining us in Clubhouse, Stephanie. So yeah, we've talked a lot about journaling without talking necessarily about intuition and how they relate. But I think it's still important. I want people to understand that you cannot access your intuition with a full mind. So even if you just journal to put your thoughts on paper, this will clear your mind to be able to receive the intuition that is waiting to come to you.
So one of the things I do, so here's an example. I'm currently in the process of, I have a candida overgrowth, and I've got parasites and all sorts of horrible things going on inside my body. And yesterday I felt horrible, which is, you know, it's very rare for me. I'm normally really, really bright and bubbly. Yesterday I was absolutely exhausted. I laid on the sofa and I thought, you know, when your brain takes over, and it's like, I hate everything. Don't want to play this game anymore. You know, watching romantic comedies and thinking, just all sorts of rubbish. So I went to bed at 9 o'clock. I thought, put your jackets on, go to bed, get your journal out. So instead of dumping everything, I asked Spirit to guide me, to give me something. And when I went walking this morning, so I get information in all sorts of ways. So I go walking this morning, and normally I listen to a book, and this morning I didn't want to. And all I've got all the way through my walk, I'm not going to sing to you, is I got free with All Right Now. And it's like, thank you. That's my message. That's all I needed to know, that everything was going to be all right. Yeah. So you're right, we have to empty the mind, but that's how journaling and intuition work. Because I just wrote, Dear Spirit. I did actually write a few things that I needed to get off my chest, but it's like, Dear Spirit, it's like, help me, I need some help. Show me a sign, show me a sign. And sure enough, this morning, in comes the song, and it's like, thank you so much. And that's how journaling and intuition work. You just stick something on the page, and then you wait to see the sign, and you will always see the sign, always.
So that leads me very beautifully to the next question I had for you, which is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how intuitive do you think you are?
See,
there's no right or wrong answer. Absolutely none.
I'm desperate to say 10, but I'm going to say 9. I'm going to say 9.5 because I don't know. I am very intuitive. I'm going to stop messing around. I am very intuitive.
Okay. And how do you receive your intuition mainly?
I get it in lots of different ways, in all honesty. So I think my main way is I hear songs. So often when I'm working with a client, suddenly a song will come in and I have to go and have a look at the words. I used to sit on a ball, and I've got one particular client who just knew that as soon as the song came in, I'd start bouncing and singing to her. So I know it's great. I am a little strange. So mostly I'll get a song. I also get visuals. So I see signs. So if I've asked for something, my 2 signs that I get typically are a penguin, if it's anything to do with writing, and a serpent, if it's anything else. So those two things come up. Also, sometimes when I'm walking, I'm joined by a bear. So I actually can't physically see it, but I can see it in my mind's eye. So a big brown bear comes with me, and I just see stuff. It's like my eyes roll into the back of my head, and I just see stuff. And what comes out of my mouth, I have no idea. So sometimes, you'd understand that better than me. But sometimes someone will spark something, and it's almost like someone's turned my eyes into the back of my head, and I just see stuff. I can't, I see it and it's over here, and I can just see it all. So it comes in different ways. And what I also feel is, I feel like my heart opens, and it's like there's a big well of stuff in there that needs to come up, but that mostly will come up in a picture.
Okay, that's wonderful. I love it. No, everybody's different. So at the moment, in the podcast that I'm about to launch, I have 11 ladies who share their story of intuition, one main story in business, but also how they receive their intuition. And what I'm trying to do, you might have to come on my podcast, I'm afraid. This is a joke, of course, I'm afraid. I'm not afraid at all. But I want people to understand that intuition comes to us in a very personal way, and that there's no right or wrong way. It's just learning how it works for you, which is what I normally teach people when I do my 5-day challenge on how to trust your intuition. So it's a lot of fun. It's very important not to stay in your lane and honor your lane.
And what is fascinating for me is, as a kid, all sorts of stuff would happen, and I remember asking. I'd had an out-of-body experience, and I asked one of my mum's friends about it, and she told my mum I was evil, and I switched everything off. And I spent years going to spiritualist churches and going on all sorts of courses. And while I was on the course, I could get stuff, and that's what I'm going to call it. I could get stuff. I'd smell things, see stuff, but I could never pull it together, and I never trusted absolutely any of it. And the reason I'm telling this story is because there might be lots of people who don't trust what they're hearing, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and that could be because someone has put them down in some way or whatever.
Absolutely.
And what happened when I came to Spain is I joined a spiritual circle, and I went every week, did the meditation, did the exercises, and I still didn't believe it. And this one day, the girl who was running it, she just went, "Who is with you?" And I went, "Oh, it's my granddad," just like that. And it broke the spell. It was my granddad. He'd come for, he'd brought a message in for my mum, because I was sitting there going, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do it." And all that self-limiting belief and everything, I was going, "Can't do it, can't." No, I don't know, you know, really childish. You know, I became the child that was told that, you know, she was evil. And I went, "It's my granddad." And after that, it was like the spell was broken all of a sudden. Oh, did I feel so emotional? I trusted. And from there, it's really built up. I remember, you know, so you know that I've got my furry ones, and we were going walking, because sometimes, you know, even though we've started to trust, we don't entirely trust. And we're going walking, and something kept saying, "You need to get a collar." And I'm looking at those going, "They got dog collars. Like, why do I need to buy them a collar?" So didn't listen. So we're in the Rambler one day, and Ibex, which is a mountain goat, came running into the Rambler. I had the dogs on leads. They pulled the leads. I smacked on the floor, and they went running off. Really very foolish. They were on long leads. So the Ibex, they cling onto the side of the mountain. There's no way the dogs are going to get aside. One dog at the top and two dogs down the bottom. And what happened was Marley, the one who's snoring on my bed. So what happened with Marley was that she got her collar caught in a tree and she was hanging.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but what happened was she struggled and struggled and struggled. She got her head through the collar. The collar came off. I had to go and buy a new collar. I mean, that's a really, really simple little example of, why didn't I just go and buy the collar? Why didn't I just go and buy the collar? Why didn't I listen to what Spirit was saying to me? And it's
I think your dogs are reinforcing that as well. They're chipping in to say, "Listen, please." They're definitely saying that.
They actually, they really do speak to you, don't they? Animals. I mean, they really
I'm going
do.
to thank them for the for reinforcing this message. Thank you. We hear you.
He's going. I think there's a stranger in the village and they're not allowed in because the village belongs to the girls.
Yeah. So this is wonderful. This is wonderful. So the way I use journaling to help my clients tune into their intuition is by going on a treasure hunt and trying to collecting those intuition stories so that they can actually counteract this belief that they're not intuitive, because I had that belief myself. And your story really resonated with me because I believe something similar was told to me when I was a kid, and I have no memory of it. But once a medium who I was chatting with on Facebook, you know how you go on a conversation, and we were connected for a while, and she just messaged me privately, and she said, I have your grandmother here, or my great grandmother it was, and she wants to say that you're part of a line of mediums, but because my grandmother was, I for sure, but I didn't know that her mum was, and that it went all the way up. And she said something that she came to visit me because of that. Like, "Oh, here's the new girl, on your lineage." And I was so scared that I'd shut it down. And then there must have been some sort of, because I was raised a Catholic, and the stance on Catholics around psychic gifts and all that sort of stuff and mediumship. So that was really interesting. But I still have, it's taken me years. I didn't have that moment where I let it go. I still have this feeling that if you ask me something, I'll get in a panic within. I don't know, don't ask me. So I'm gonna probably journal on that after we finish this call, just to see where that takes me.
So as you say that, I get a picture of a heart. So I have I don't know what that means to you, but all I can see is a picture of a heart. So it may be that you need to get, the journaling will bring you into the heart of whatever that thing is. But that's the power of journaling, because you really, it's like whenever you get something and you're not trusting what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're sensing, is just put it on paper. You only have to write a question.
Yeah.
And then
I'm writing it now, actually, so I don't forget. So yeah, we go on this treasure hunt, and I do actually want to mention treasure hunts because I'm running one in my group this week that started this morning. And every day, so my group, I know Susie and Stephanie are in the group, and you are as well. What was I going to say?
So you're starting your treasure hunt?
Yes, because I believe, so each day I'm going to ask for people to try and find a sign. And so today is butterfly. And I have a whole series of different signs that I've mapped out for the entire week until Sunday. And initially, people, you do that more for manifesting, which I'm a big fan of anyway. But I've realized that doing these treasure hunts to tune into your intuition is beautiful because you need to pay attention in the moment in order to hear your intuition. So to be able to focus on these signs and have a whole treasure hunt this week is going to help anyone who takes part in it to really pay attention. You have to be in the moment with intuition, don't you?
You absolutely do. And you've just broken a spell, because yesterday I was out walking and I saw a butterfly all on its own on a branch. And what was also strange, I don't know what I don't know whether they're moths or something, but I was walking through the Rambler, and it's just like, it's almost like there's hundreds of these tiny little minute little butterfly things. And then just on the plant was a really beautiful butterfly, and I can't remember all the colors, but it's very brightly colored. Don't know what kind it was, but it made me stop. So I must have tuned into the fact that you were going to say butterfly today, but because you've broken that. Oh, because I was looking at it thinking, what's that butterfly do? And I thought, I wonder if it's my dad. That's all. I looked at it and I thought, how strange. Wonder if that's my dad.
What signs does your dad usually give you?
I see him. Okay. So I sense that he's with me. I found an old penny once in the street, so I knew that was from him. What else do I get from my dad? I mostly sense that he's there. My mum was very funny. My mum always says, "Oh, I wish I was psychic." She's one of the most intuitive people I know, and she was saying to me, keep smelling mint everywhere. She said, I get in a taxi and I keep saying to the taxi driver, I can smell mints. And they're all around the house. She said, I haven't got any mint and whatever. And I said, Mum, what did Dad used to eat? I don't know. I said, he ate bloody after those extra strong mints every day. I said, he absolutely stuffed them. And she went, oh my God. So mum gets the mints. She's also found an old penny. Like, we both live in Spain, like where would you find an old 1p piece? He's found an old penny. He used to collect old coins, but mostly I sense he's there. There's a feeling that he's there.
Can you sense him now?
I've got goosebumps all over me. I can see him. I can see a picture of him sitting in a chair with slacks and a shirt on from my childhood. In the garden. Well, why you would have an armchair in the garden, I don't know. Oh, how strange.
Well, I do find that my dad tends to bring other people's dads in. So that's quite funny because we mentioned the memoir about my dad. So
he's just sitting. I tell you what, the sense I've got. It's like he's sat in the garden and he's listening to us.
Yes,
what he's doing. He's listening. So that's because I found it really strange, and I'm thinking, why is he sat in a garden in an armchair? But he's listening like you would listen to a radio show, which obviously,
Well, that's what Clubhouse is. Yeah. It's the new radio show.
Yeah.
He likes Clubhouse, I'm sure, because it's just sound and you can focus on it and there's no distraction.
Thank you for that, because that's really nice to connect with my dad today, to know that he's just tuned in. He's had that invitation to come in and he's just sat listening to us. That's really, really lovely. Thank you.
Well, you did it yourself.
You made the invitation, put me on the spot, and it's like, oh, What do I sense? What do I sense?
I'm wondering if Susie has a question for us. Susie, who's in the clubhouse. Do you want to raise your hand? You don't have to, Susie. I know that you usually listen and tune in whilst you're getting ready for work, so don't worry about that if you can't. So what else could we tell our audience about journaling and intuition?
Right, so I'm gonna share some other things with you. So I don't know if your audience are into crystals, not suggesting that you get a great big piece like that, but if you journal, and I mean, this might look a bit big to put down your brow, right? But you can. I mean, I write in bed, and I do put big bits of rock on me. But we'll work with the smaller piece of rose. Actually, I've got some lovely. So choose the crystal intuitively. Just find something that you really like. It could even be a stone that you found outside. And if you tune into the energy of the stone, and then write. So this is orange, and you know, when you hold it, what do you feel? What do you sense? What do you know? I mean, even so, obviously on Clubhouse you can't see this. So I've got a big striated piece of orange citrine, but you can hold that in your hand and then start writing. So you use that to tune in. So whatever crystals.
That's a great idea. That's not something I've ever suggested to my tribe, but I think it's a good idea because even though my tagline is that you don't have to meditate for hours, wear crystals, or give up coffee or wine, I do love crystals. And I actually was attracted to crystals even when I was a lawyer in the really early days. That's probably what started me off on this journey, because I just found them so beautiful. But I want people to know that they're not necessary, but they do amplify energy.
For me, it's a point of focus. I mean, the answer, yes, what you've just said, but it's something to focus on. So if you find it hard to follow your breath or focus in on your heart, hold something. Now, guys,
it could even be a rock, like a regular rock, like a pebble from the beach. I love these.
Absolutely. So the guys on Clubhouse can't see these, so I'm going to describe these. These are called Bogey Stones. I can't remember exactly what they're made out of. So they're very small. They're brown, dark brown in color. One is all kind of rough and knobbly. That's the man. And then the smooth one, of course, is the woman. So feminine and masculine energy. And if you're feeling, I'm going to use the word discombobulated.
I love that word.
So you can balance your energies. So before you journal, you can hold your Bogey Stones and just imagine that you are rebalancing. And then you start writing. So again, it's just a way of focus. And if anyone wants a laugh, when I used to work in corporate, so we both obviously worked in corporate, you know, when you go into work sometimes and people are just a little bit like, why don't you just do your work and smile? I'd stick these in my bra, and I'd get to the end of the day and I'd take my bra off and I'd be like, what are those? But I'd wear them to help me balance all day. So that's nothing to do with journaling, but they're great to focus in on just creating some balance. Now, the other thing you can do, you do not need to use pendulums, right? You don't need to use pendulums, but if you like pendulums, here's some stuff that you can do. So with your journal, you could, so I'm going to give you a couple of different things to do. So in your journal, you could write the word yes and the word no. And then you ask a question. So I'm going to ask a silly question. Am I going to win the lottery on Tuesday? So you get your journal, your pendulum, and you tune into it and you ask, what's your yes? So your pendulum will go a particular way. So I've got a yes and no written up. So am I going to win the lottery? Huh. Am I going to win the lottery on Tuesday? And A very definite no. Well, what a shame. I was expecting to be a multimillionaire on Tuesday. But you can ask questions, yes or no, by scribbling in your journal and then journaling about what came up and how you felt about the answer. Now, here's the thing. Let's say I'm going to ask, am I going to meet the love of my life in May's gone, in June? Ha. This is tricking me. It said yes, because I'm not sure I believe it. But now that is a perfect example. I have resisted that yes. So why have I resisted it, right?
That
Why
makes so much sense, yeah.
right? So for me, a pendulum, you can trick a pendulum, right? You can make it do stuff. And, you know, I've been in classes where we've got pendulums and I said, control someone else's pendulum, and you can do it. You can control, so you can make someone else's pendulum do something. But lots of people swear by pendulums. So you can use the yes or no. And when you feel that deep, deep resistance, why? Now, I've been away for 6.5 years. I know what my resistance is. It's, I would really love, I'm gonna tell your listeners, I would really love to meet someone now. I'm ready. But there's that little bit of me that's going, but what if? And I can feel that resistance. Now, the other thing you can do is, let's say you want to make a decision about something in your diet. So what you can do is you could draw like a wheel on the bit of paper, and you could write on it, do I need to look at my vitamins, my minerals, carbs? Can't think of all the different things now that I've said we're going to do it. But you just write in a wheel a load of words. So I'll tune in and I'll say, in terms of my health and nutrition, what do I need? What do I need to look at today? And now I haven't written very much on here, but your pendulum will point. So you can say things like point and show me, and your pendulum will point to it. So let's say this came up as vitamins, then I can go, and you can use your hand. You can go, do I need to look at vitamin A? Do I need to look at my B vitamins? Do I need to look at vitamin C? Do I need to look at my vitamin D? And I get a yes for that. Do I need to look at my vitamin K2? And I get a yes for that. Now I picked D and K2 because in terms of osteoporosis, they're things that you need. So you can draw things in your journal. You can ask questions on your hands with your pendulum, and then you can go and explore that, because this is another way that your intuition is talking to you. And you can do the same thing with a sway test. So you can write things on bits of paper and stand on the bits of paper. And the sway test is where you say to your body, show me my yes. Normally you fall forward, show me my no. So you can stand on those bits of paper, and then you come to the journal and you write what comes up. And it's always notice the resistance. So
it's the best part of it, isn't it? The answer doesn't really matter. It's how you react to it that is the gold, isn't it?
Yes.
I have a resistance to using pendulum because I know how much I influence the answer to take me. Yeah, so that's not the medium that I suppose I would. I think cards are much better for that. And for me, what I suggest people to do is to use a deck of cards where you have an upside and a downside. Like it's really clear when it's an upright or if it's reversed. And shuffle, ask your question. So let's ask the question, will Dale and I do this again? Are we meant for an occasion, a season, or lifetime? Okay, so which one shall we ask?
Are we going to do a season?
Okay. Yeah, are Dale and I going to do a season of this? So I shuffle my deck by asking the question, are we going to do a season? Are we going to do a season? Then I pull one card and I turn it round and it says no.
Okay.
Because it's reversed. So we're not here for a season. So do we want to ask more? Like, is it for life or just for today?
So,
maybe we should keep some mystery around this, right?
why don't we let it unfold?
Yes, that's my gut feeling. Sometimes if you get a no, it's because you're not supposed to ask the question. So we could ask the question now. Was the no because we're not supposed to know? This is where the English language is very confusing. As a French speaker, a French native, I can tell you no, and it's just two different words.
It's interesting because I live in Spain and they are very direct. There's none of this wishy-washy. It's like, this is what it is. Like, oh, okay.
French people are like that too. We're very direct and considered rude by most people.
Well, I mean, I'm used to it now. So when you go into a supermarket and they just say, speak to me, and you think, oh, okay, you've commanded me. That was I'm told.
Right. So are we supposed to know is going to be the next question. Adele and I supposed to know? A nice conclusion to our little chat. And the answer is no. So I had a feeling when it said no, is that we weren't supposed to know.
And what I'm getting in my head is the word spontaneous. So I think what's going to happen with you and I, because we're both very random, and obviously I don't know this to be the truth, but is that we will spontaneously combust, we'll spontaneously come together when there's a right moment. And I think that works really, really well. But yes,
our intuition, I suppose.
Absolutely. We will intuitively know when we're supposed to do the next thing. And you've already commanded me and asked me very nicely to come on your podcast. So, you know, stuff is always going to happen. And when I resurrect mine, I will absolutely invite you into mine. So I do think that we were meant to meet for a reason.
Yeah.
And it is a lovely, the word collision comes to me. It's like a lovely collision of like a melee of just all kinds of different things that we can bring to other people.
There's definitely some synergies, really beautiful synergies. Yeah.
And I think what we've done today is to say to people is to trust, but to learn to do stuff your way. So whatever happens for you, whether it's words or songs or pictures or, you know, whatever else comes up, is to do it your way. And I say that about journaling. Journal your way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
You don't have to get up in the morning and write 10 pages of morning pages because somebody says this is how it works. It works how it works for you.
I'm learning to be more creative with my journal, and bullet journaling has really helped me to be more, I suppose, a bit more arty, creative. Because otherwise, I would just write longhand. The author in me would just go on and on and on and on. But sometimes you need to break that a little bit.
I think, you know, there's a way of journaling every single day. So someone wrote to me once and said, I've got all these things going on in my life. I can't possibly journal. And I wrote, all you need to do is write one word. What is my word for today? It's like, oh, that's kind of like, surely someone's got time for a word. So all you need is a word. See where the word takes you.
I'd like to finish this conversation by asking you, how do you channel write?
So for me, the way that I do that, so there's lots and lots of different ways. The way that I do it is I write a question to spirit before I go to sleep. And when I wake up, the answer comes. I just put pen to paper. Right?
I love that.
If you want to do it in the moment, I would find something to have as a focus. So I would hold a crystal, or I'd have crystals around me, or I would just write dear something and just start writing. And actually, and you'll have seen this in the course, is let's say that you want to channel something. So you set this intention that you would like to connect to your higher self or your heart, and you want to write. Often what stands in the way is mind, ego. So start writing what I call the mundane. So today I got up and I made a smoothie and I took the dogs for a walk. And then what will happen is what you're meant to write will just take over. But normally I'll write a question in my journal, and then when I wake up in the morning, put pen to, because you're sleepy. You haven't actually got much you haven't had time to let the day get in the way and go, oh, I've got to do the washing today and I've got the plumber coming round, and you're in that lovely state of
your critical mind is sort of still sleepy. I mean, that my training in clinical hypnotherapy helps me to understand that. That is the best time as well to get your intuition, is right when you wake up or right when you go to sleep. But then when you're about to fall asleep, you probably won't stop yourself to write down what you get.
So really, so for me, it's always ask a question, and you can also ask your future self a question. So let's say if you wanted to,
I love that.
You wanted to know some steps in terms of your business. So you could write, dear future self, you know, I'm feeling really stuck and I'm wondering if, and whatever your question is, and you go to sleep, future self. So I've said to you a couple of times, I'm very visual. So for me, future self, I go into the most beautifully light room. There's a massive window. Why everything is pale lemon, I have no idea, because you definitely don't want pale lemon with dogs. There's a beautiful fireplace, and she's always sitting on this sofa, gorgeous, gorgeous sofa, which happens to have flowers on it for some reason. She's always got a lovely frock on, and she always serves me tea and cake, and then she tells me.
Wow, I love that. I love that.
And
I see mine on a surfing board. She just showed me. I like that.
Love it. But there's something quite magic. I mean, for me, that is actually spirit representing itself, oneself, to me, in a way that makes me feel connected to myself. So like if I was to connect to what I call my wild inner child, she's got a hair in rag's tails, like this, hair in rag's tails. She's got a pair of pants on and a pair of wellies. And so when I connect to this wild inner child, she's fun, she's outspoken, there are no filters. So, you know, it's just you just write in your journal and you just ask spirit to show you in some way, and you wake up in the morning, you write.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Colleen's just joined us, but sadly, Colleen, we're about to go and wrap up this session, which has already been an hour long. You can always come and watch the replay in my Facebook group. Darlene, you were going to perhaps post this in your group. I don't know. I can't remember if that was your intent.
I would like to post this on. I'll edit the front and the back, but I'll stick it on YouTube.
Okay.
I will put it in my group, because I have invited people to your group, but you know, some people don't want to join any more groups. So I
understand that myself. Yes. So group overwhelm.
Without a doubt. So I'll post it in the group. I'll probably write a blog about it and chop little bits and pieces up and share the videos like that. So, you know, I love repurposing content. So I will sit with this and, you know, do stuff with it. But yeah, I'll stick it in my group, and hopefully if you go into my group and remind them that the treasure hunt is going on, people will hop over, because I think it's really important to combine these two things, that they come and, you know, play with their intuition and just see what comes up, because I'm sure it's going to be fascinating. I mean, I've already had my butterfly. I'm quite happy.
Exactly, your butterflies. Wow.
I might even get another one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to mine today. I have no idea where it's going to come from, but it'll keep me on my toes for sure.
That's absolutely true. I'm going to take the girls for another walk now, because we only did 45 minutes this morning. So I thought, right, chat with you, take them for a walk. So I will be gobsmacked if I see a butterfly now, but who knows?
Please come and share in the group. Do you know what? You've given me an aha moment that I want to share before I wrap this chat, this beautiful chat, is that I wondered why my intuition hour on Clubhouse had to be at 7 or 7:30 every morning. But that's exactly what you said. It's the intuitive hours. It
is.
The first hour in the morning when you wake up. Well, mine is more like 5 or 6, but for most people, take an average from 5 a.m. to 10. 7 sounds good to me.
I'm a 5 a.m. I'm up doing stuff. As soon as the light comes up, the girls are like, "Mum, mum, 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 we want to go for a walk." Well, they don't actually speak like that, but yes, like you can imagine, they're like, come on, get out of bed. You know those days when you're feeling, oh, just leave me alone. They're going nose in the face, lick, 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 walk, walk, walk. So yes, but I've always been an early. Me and my dad, we're the early birds in our family.
So no surprise that he was here today as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dad, for listening. I'll thank mine as well, because I think he's around, even though I can't feel him. And thank you so much, Dale, for accepting my invitation. It's been a delight. I've just enjoyed this so much.
I've loved it. I've loved it. I've loved it. So thank you. Thank you.
And let's be in touch with the whole YouTube thingy in the background. Thank you, everyone who's going to watch on the replay, because I think that we'll have some use. And we'll see you again next week. Is going to be my podcast launch party in Clubhouse at 7 a.m.
Fantastic. Good luck with that. It'll be brilliant.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.